I filed my taxes this week, and on the revenue line, it said $0 and 0 cents. And I knew this would happen, right? I went into this company knowing that it would say this for a while. There's a huge difference between knowing something abstractly and seeing it printed on a form. And it's really uncomfortable seeing it printed on a form, because the reality is that number feels like a verdict. And not just because my accountant looks disappointed in me, but because I feel that sinking disappointment in myself. But here's the part I didn't expect. It wasn't the $0 that hurt. It was what my brain turned that into. And you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, but you chose this. Nobody made you quit. And you know what? You're right. Nobody forced me into startup life. And that actually makes it worse, doesn't it? Because when there's nobody left to blame, you have to blame yourself. And that's when I kind of fell down a rabbit hole, because I wanted to know, is my brain doing something that's entirely predictable? And spoiler alert, the answer is yeah, 100%. Humans are really terrible at ambiguity. We never really progress past the stage where the hand behind the back game is frustrating to us, because our brains are constantly screaming, what is going on? I want to know what's going on. Why? This isn't just made up either. It is a very, very well documented phenomenon, which is something I kind of wish I knew earlier. There's plenty of peer-reviewed and repeatable evidence that shows that we will actually seek out certain pain over uncertain pain. And specifically, our stress responses seem to spike when we are the most uncertain. So when something is a 50-50% chance, there's no specific certainty either way, we peak in stress, which I guess means we really hate the coin flip game. So I really must be a glutton for punishment, right? I'm choosing constant uncertainty all of the time, because it's not as if proof is just on the horizon, right? A startup is a marathon, not a sprint. So waiting for certainty is just a straight path with a breakdown at the end of it. But even though I'm choosing the maximum amount of uncertainty all the time, our lives in general are just teeming with it. We of course know that some of the best things, the things that we want the most, are just on the other side of that uncertainty. If you could just hold on, if you could just steel your nerves through that messy, horrible feeling, there's some of the most exciting things after that. This time of uncertainty is, of course, the evidence gap, the time between where you start to believe something with zero proof, much to the horror of your friends and family, and when there's actual evidence and proof to back up that belief. Every single person that has ever built anything meaningful has had to survive the evidence gap. Most people, understandably, cannot handle this kind of stress. But this is bad, right? We know the best things come from uncertainty, and we know we hate it. So the question becomes, if your brain is biologically wired to bail during this phase, how do we override it? Honestly, I'm not even pretending I have the answer. I do have a theory, though. There's sort of a way to trick your brain, or at least my brain, and kind of shut it off during uncertainty. My absolutely unhinged way of dealing with this is to treat everything like a game. And not in the woo-woo, it's great, everything's working out, everything's perfect sort of way. It's more of borrowing that same kind of perspective. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I've heard all of this before and it doesn't work. And you're right, to a degree, because it's not specific enough. You need to think of everything like a game, and the objective of the game is to learn as much as you possibly can at all times. Everything you do is the opportunity to learn more, and your only job is to maximize the amount of learning. Think of the odds of you having the exact same experience in the exact same way again. You don't even need to look. It's extremely low. It's infinitesimally low. Not even a second trip to the grocery store on the same day is the exact same. In my opinion, this gives you a huge advantage, even mindset-wise, because you're actively turning that uncertainty into curiosity. This is kind of what they're talking about when they talk about processing your emotions. Turn it into something else. Some of the ways you can work on this are accountability. This channel right here is my accountability, and it does work as an antidote against the voice in my head. Sometimes feelings really are just feelings, and we can ignore them. Often they don't mean anything, even when your brain is insisting they're the end of the world. Here's the part that actually surprised me this week. Trying to figure out what was worse, having a certain paycheck and a nice number deposited into my bank account twice a month, or the fear of looking 10 years in the future and being so freaking mad at myself for not trying harder, for not betting on myself and being uncomfortable for a couple of years but building something worth it, or the uncertainty of a startup, the uncertainty of not having a steady paycheck, the uncertainty of whether this is going to help people at all, the uncertainty of whether people are going to like it, the uncertainty of the past year of my life amounting to almost nothing. Right? I don't know. Even though technically my brain probably thinks that the uncertainty is worse, I know it was worse. I know it was causing me more chronic stress. And it really, as cheesy as it sounds, it was the fear of not trying. I am not saying you should do what I'm doing. I'm just saying that for me, the math of fear tips in the direction of building. Conviction and evidence operate on different timelines. And even though clearly the evidence is still loading, I know that this week I saw the worst number my startup could possibly show me. And there's relief in that certainty, at least. I'm still here. What's the thing you're building or thinking of building where the evidence hasn't even started to catch up? Tell me, because I think there are a lot more of us in the evidence gap than anyone is willing to admit. And it is a lot less lonely when you can say it out loud. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next week.